everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us once again for this episode number, what is it, 19, Alison?
19, yes, 19.
Oh my God, the Finding Wendy podcast here. And today we're going to have a chat with a very special guest who has had much success with using intermittent fasting after weight loss surgery to tackle weight regain. So Heather is a 42-year-old mom and of two boys, 9 and 15. Wow, that's a handful. And she lives with her partner in Port St. Lucie. Is that how you say it?
It is.
Oh, okay, Lucie, Florida. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. The weather must be nice and warm.
It's kind of cold today.
So she works as a high school registrar by day, and then she is in the process of building her real estate business. She's a licensed realtor and works at First Class Homes. I have no idea what that means. Paradise Real Estate. And in her free time, she's a Boy Scout mom and loves camping. That's cool. She also loves to cook, bake, and crochet. But last but not least, she's a husky mom. So we were just talking about her dogs because my dog was just barking like crazy at ghosts in the hallway. She has two huskies, so her other hobby is vacuuming every day, twice a day, because huskies are always shedding. So welcome, Heather.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Heather, what are your dogs' names?
They're both females. One's Lacey and one's Everest.
Oh, how sweet.
My little one was a Paw Patrol kid. So Everest after Paw Patrol.
Awesome. That's so nice. I'm a boy mom too. So I feel like we have a lot in common, and we've gotten to know each other through my Facebook page, The Regain Remedy, but it's so glad to have you. I'm so happy to have you today. And Wendy and I were talking about all of our discussions that we've had on the podcast about intermittent fasting after weight loss surgery. And people might just be hearing enough of our two stories. So we wanted to invite someone else onto the podcast to share their story. And just before we hear more from you, Heather, I just want to remind listeners, maybe new listeners that haven't heard prior podcasts or maybe don't know, that you actually can practice intermittent fasting safely if you are experiencing regain after weight loss surgery, or even if you never made it to your goal. I used to kind of say you should be 18 to 24 months post bariatric surgery before thinking about intermittent fasting, because that's what my experience was like. But I've talked to, I feel like, thousands of people now and a lot of nutritionists and professionals in the field. And they're saying that around the 9 to 10 month mark post surgery is when people really have this long stall and they start to either plateau or they start regaining. So now we're kind of saying around the 10 to 12th month mark is maybe, a good time when you can safely incorporate intermittent fasting into your life. But just real quickly, if you're starting, you're going to start nice and slow. You're basically choosing an eating window every day. You want to choose like a very generous eating window so that you're not over restricting. And we would say to start with maybe 10 hours and then whittle that down to about 8 hours and stay there for a few weeks until your body becomes fat adapted. And when you're not in your eating window, you're going to be practicing a clean fast, which we'll talk about more in detail later. But basically, it just means that you're having plain water, plain coffee, or plain tea during the fast. And you're teaching your body to be a fat burner instead of a sugar burner, burning food energy from the food that you're eating all day long. So it's all about circulating insulin. It's all hormonal. It's not our fault. We're not to blame. We're not, bad people because we're experiencing regain. It really is just how our bodies work physiologically. So if you need more details, I do have my book, The Regain Remedy, on Amazon, or you can join us in our group. Maybe Google Wendy's prior podcast episodes, because there's lots of information there as well. All right. So now we would love to get to know more about Heather's journey. Heather, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your your diet history and your weight loss surgery journey?
Okay. So I've been heavier my whole life. I have a twin brother, and I always used to we always used to pick on each other, and he would say that I got all his nutrients and he got none because he was so skinny and I was never skinny. But so my whole life I've struggled with it. And then in 2017, I started having some health issues and decided that weight loss surgery was the route for me. So I started my weight loss surgery at around 375. And then my lowest weight with my weight loss surgery was 220. And I've fluctuated from there all the way up as far as 245-ish. Since fasting, I've come back down. I've maintained mostly in the 230s. So hopefully I'll be getting out of the 230s soon with the continuing fasting.
And when was your surgery? What year?
It was in 2017.
Okay. That's right. That's when you said you had some health issues and then decided to take that next step.
Yeah, I had developed like I was pre-diabetic at that time. And at that time, I was in my early 30s. Mm-hmm. So it was really a young age to be told that you have diabetes. And
yeah. And did you have like a extensive like dieting history prior to the weight loss surgery?
I have tried every diet under the sun. I have done no carbs. I went on a watermelon diet one time where for like a month, all I ate was watermelon. I've starved myself. I've done Weight Watchers. I did Jenny Craig for a little while. I have done pretty much everything I could think of to do. And I've never had a big success with any of it. None of it has ever made me lose a significant amount of weight. I think the most weight I've ever lost on my own was probably prior to my surgery. I did lose 25 pounds prior to my surgery. And I think that was just out of the fear of my doctor telling me that if I didn't get the fatty liver stuff down and all of that, that my surgery was going to be more complicated. Mm-hmm. And because of my weight, they told me my first night I would be in ICU after my surgery. So I was already a little nervous there. So I definitely wanted to follow the doctor's orders completely. And they gave me like a little diet to follow, like what to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And that's what I did to lose that weight prior to my surgery. But that's probably the most I've ever lost on my own.
And your actual, well, first of all, your story is really common. And I share that with you as well, that I tried everything and I never really lost weight. I always blamed myself. I thought that I just didn't have like the motivation or the discipline to do it. But I think like knowing what we know now, we were just fighting against what we should have been doing for our bodies, which was not extend or stretch out, 800 calories or 1,000 calories all day long, shrink your window and all of that, which we'll get into soon. But everything went well with your actual surgery, and
I had no complications at all. I healed well. I didn't get any of the symptoms other people talk about, like the indigestion and heartburn. Never had any of that. My surgery went really well.
Okay, great. And the majority of your weight came off in about a year?
Yes. I think my first year I lost like 130. And then the second year, I think I might have lost about the rest of it. I've lost a little bit of weight each year, all the way up till probably 3 years ago. 3 years ago was my first year that I went up in weight. And it was just a little bit. It was like 5 or 10 pounds. I can't remember. And I wasn't thinking it was any big deal. And then before I knew it, the next year came and it was like 20 pounds.
Yeah. And how did that feel for you? I know.
I felt like another failed diet. I felt horrible. I was like, I can't believe I went through all of this just to go back to where I'm heading where I came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember feeling the same way. Wendy, how did you feel when you started having regain? I just was so panicked.
Well, I was very disappointed, and I was just like, well, why the F did I do this in the first place? And why didn't this bariatric surgery fix my head? The thing about diet brain or intermittent fasting, I wanted to hear more about how you found intermittent fasting, Heather, but the way I stumbled upon it was by coming across the obesity code from Dr. Fung and read that book. But I was basically desperate because I'm on another medication called Vyvanse right now, which treats binge eating disorder and also treats ADHD. But the thing is that a lot of people don't realize that bariatric surgery is a great tool, but it doesn't fix the problem of why we eat. So the stress eating, whatever kind of stressful thing happens or not stressful thing, the dopamine kick, the non-dopamine that you're not getting, never feeling satisfied. And though you can't eat as large a meal, right? But you can snack all day long. And that's something that basically comes down to discipline. But if you're looking for that dopamine kick, or what I find so wonderful about intermittent fasting is that, like today, I had a donut. I felt like a donut, so I'm going to eat a donut when my window was open. And I could never do that if I was on a regular diet, because I would have diet brain and think, oh my God, there we go again. I went off the diet. I had a donut. So if you can tell us a little bit about how you found intermittent fasting.
So around March or April of last year, I was just looking for another way to lose the weight that I gained, another diet plan. What am I going to do this time? And I noticed on Facebook a lot of groups, and TikTok had a lot of groups talking about intermittent fasting. So I'm like, I'm going to look into that. So I joined every single fasting group I could find on TikTok or on Facebook and started following them. And all of the rules were different. All of the rules were completely different. So I picked a few that I liked, but I came across Alison's Facebook group in the mix of all of those. And that's when I remember my first post I think I ever made was, oh, where do you get this book? How do I get this book? And she messaged me back with the link for Amazon, ordered it that day. It was there the next day. Easy read. I read it in half a day. And after reading her book, I went through my Facebook groups and I removed myself from every group except for hers and just followed her principles. When I first started fasting, I was not clean fasting. I was doing creamer in my coffee because everybody's like, oh, you can do coffee with creamer. My water, I was putting flavoring, sugar-free flavoring in my water. And then I learned that that's not clean fasting. So I got Jen Stevens' book probably around the same time, within a week or so of reading Alison's book. And that's when I really started like clean fasting. And that's when I noticed the difference in clean fasting versus not. Like I would feel like every time I felt like all those other groups were just giving me wrong information. So I found Alison's group, went into the clean fasting, and that made a difference for sure.
So how did you start? How did you decide on your IF protocol, like your eating windows and your fasting windows? How did you get started at the beginning?
So I typically always quit eating around 8:00 at night. I'm an early bird when it comes to bedtime. So I'm usually in bed laying down by 8:00. So I figured I would just do 8:00 and then I would fast as long as I could the following day. So when I first started, I did 16 hours a day. And then I would usually break around 12 o'clock the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But then as time went on and I saw that it was working and I was losing weight and I was able to go that long without eating and I was fine. And I'm like, I'm going to add an extra hour. So I've gotten up to, I got up to probably 18, 19s pretty consecutive back in the summertime and was doing really well with that. And then life gets in the way and kind of stepped back from it for a little while. And then, you know, New Year's rolls around. So everybody needs a New Year's resolution. So I'm like, I'm going to get back on the wagon of IF. And that's what I've been doing. I did it starting from the beginning of January. And this time I was like, I'm going to do it the way I didn't do it the first time. One, I started clean fasting from day one. Two, I decided not to weigh myself every day. And I waited a whole 30 days before I weighed myself. So I feel like it's the first few weeks were still tough. Like the first week were rough. Second week, I had some headaches. The third week, I eased back into it. And now I'm pretty good. I can do 16 pretty easy as long as I don't let myself talk myself out of it or talk myself into having anything. You know, working at the school, you're consumed by food. Like the PTA moms are like bringing donuts in and like there's just always food at school. And most of the time I can get it, leave it on my desk and not touch it until my window is opened.
Yeah, I try to do the same thing. I've actually just, if I know there's something coming in or I have like little Ziploc bags in my desk and I'll just grab it and save it for later. And sometimes I'll have it and sometimes I won't. Like sometimes I'll just stick with what I, brought in to eat. But I like the feeling of not having like the food FOMO or not feeling like I'm missing out on something or that I can't. I did a little mini like no sugar experiment at the beginning of the year and it didn't really go well because I think, as soon as you tell yourself you can't have something, it becomes all encompassing, it feels like that's the only thing that you want
Right.
to have. So yeah, it's good to have a balance. And then has your natural like preferences for diet and food changed over the course of doing IF more consistently?
So when you start noticing the differences in how you feel and you start seeing the weight and that it's working and you don't feel that deprived, I think that you naturally just start making healthier choices. Like I think that, I'm like, oh, well, it's not hard and I know I can have this if I really want it. But I feel like I don't want it. And I feel like when I have really good fasting weeks, I don't have cravings for anything sweet. I've never been a huge sweets person. I'm a salty girl. But even that I've noticed decreases when I have really good fasting weeks.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the same thing. And it's kind of forgiving though, too. If you like Wendy mentioned her donut today, if you're having a 4 or 6 or even an 8-hour window and you have, your 2 meals planned, but you have a sweet treat or, something like that, every now and again, it really is quite forgiving because you're not starting out at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. with the donut and then just spiraling like all day long. This weekend, I had 2 events in the evening, very late, like Friday night and Saturday night. And I very rarely have, late evening events like that. And I was thinking about pushing my window back a little bit. That's my dog. Juliet, what's up? Go lay down. Sorry about that. I was going to, push my window really late so that I could eat later. And I just decided to extend my window instead because I like the flexibility of IF. If I gain a couple of pounds because my window is longer for a couple of days, I know this coming week, once I get back on track, it'll all even out. So when,
yeah. So the thing is that, I wanted to backtrack a bit about the weight that you've lost in total. but not including the regain. So when you had the surgery back 2017, so I had it in 2018, your total weight loss was...
Hold on, I gotta use a calculator. I'm not good with math. Let's see.
Sorry, because the reason why I was going to ask, I have a lot of extra skin, and so you've been coming this April. You will be have been IFing for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at about 6 months. Have you noticed any change with your loose skin?
So my total weight loss is 155 pounds.
Yeah.
And I have had a lot of excess skin. But doing the fasting since the summer, I lost 15 pounds last summer doing the IF. And I did not notice looser skin. Like I felt like it was about the same.
Okay.
I did notice like in my face area, it felt like it was smoother because that's one of the things that I noticed with surgery. I was like, oh my gosh, I look older now that I got surgery, and it would kind of bring me down. But I feel like that has improved.
You've gotten prettier. Well, I mean, you know what? We might as well just say it, because I think I've gotten prettier too, even though I'm much older than you guys. But I wanted to just ask you, do you do any exercise or movement at all?
I don't. I
No.
am so busy that I don't have time in my schedule. I'm always on the run. When I was doing it last summer, during the summer when things slow down, I was walking in the mornings. I would go for a walk on the weekends. But that's probably the only physical activity I have other than the normal activity. Like I stay pretty active in scouts and camping, and the real estate thing keep me pretty much on my feet a lot.
Yeah, so you have an active lifestyle naturally.
Yeah, the only time I'm sitting is when I'm a registrar. And even at that, I set my alarm. I have my watch set where it pings me if I sit too long. And I go and I walk one lap around the bus loop.
Oh, yeah.
When that pings. So just because I'm kind of ADHD too, I get sidetracked, distracted, and just getting up and taking that quick 5-minute walk and coming back to my desk helps.
Yeah, I think that totally counts as daily exercise. Even if, they say even if you break it up into chunks like that, there's still so many benefits. And there's also benefits to like an impact on your blood sugar. If you're taking the walks after you eat, your muscles help absorb the glucose so you don't have as big of an insulin response, which is nice. I'm sure all that's working for you.
Oh, yeah. Since my second year of surgery, like I have not taken any medication for diabetes. They've taken diabetes completely off my chart. I've never had any issues with it since then.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I didn't realize when you said you were pre-diabetic that they had started you on medication already.
Yeah, they had put me on, I think, the typical metformin,
Mm-hmm.
I think what they put everybody on.
Mm-hmm.
And that medicine does wonders to you. So I was wanting to get off of that as soon as possible.
I know. I have taken that myself. It's a rough one. It's rough.
Yeah.
Especially as a teacher when you don't have flexibility with the restroom. We'll leave it at that.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think part of the reason why we really wanted to have you on today was because of all the really good advice that you share in the Regain Remedy Facebook group. And I appreciate it so much, and I'm sure all of the members do. You share so much. And recently you shared this. You said, when I first started fasting last year, I did not clean fast and I still lost weight. Once I realized I was not truly fasting since I was not clean fasting, I started clean fasting and lost weight. The difference is my first time fasting was calorie restricted diet and a clean fast was a fasting lifestyle. One was a diet and the other is not a diet. Clean fasting offered me a few things far more than weight loss. It offers a clearer mind, you're sleeping great, you feel better. And we touched on the clean fast already a little bit before, but you notice that it's, easier as far as your routine and you're seeing more results, right? With the clean fast.
Absolutely. I feel like the hunger stays down. Like even on the days that I break my fast earlier, I feel like I'm just hungry all day after that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I stick it out and I do the right fast and I do at least 16 hours or more each day consecutive, it's like I feel like I eat just a little bit, I'm full and I'm done, I'm satisfied, I'm happy, and on to the next thing. But the biggest thing for me too is sleep. My sleep, I would say when I got off track at the end of the summer until the beginning of this year, I didn't realize how much it really helped with my sleeping. I thought I didn't have a sleeping problem, but I noticed that was a big thing that I noticed as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wendy, have you noticed sleep benefits with your fasting?
I think so. I recently bought a new duvet cover or comforter cover, I think you say in the U.S. That is of much warmer because I need my bedroom to be really cool when I sleep. And I live in an apartment, and apartment buildings, as you know, are notoriously hot all the time. And so, but I do think that my sleeping is much better. I dream more vividly for sure. Since I had my back surgery 4 years ago, I no longer can sleep any other way than on my side, on my left side, because my right side I have multiple hip replacement surgery history. So I sleep on my side, but when I wake up in the morning, I'm more rested, I think, for sure. But I only wake up once during the evening, unless my dog wakes me up and barking because there's some ghost in the hallway or she has to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which is always fun, getting dressed when it's minus 20 outside and you have to get dressed and go outside and take the dog out.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, I would say my sleeping's much better. And now that I'm retired, I can get up whenever the heck I want. So, every day is Sunday when you're retired.
Well, it's nice. It's just less pressure. It's less pressure to get that perfect night's sleep, but it sounds like you are sleeping pretty well.
Yeah. I do try to get to bed by 12, but yesterday was 12:30 because I watched a great movie. I can highly recommend it. Conclave. Oh my God.
Conclave. I'll write it down.
It's about how how the cardinals will vote and choose a new pope.
Oh.
And I'm not going to say anything more. It's a fantastic movie and it has an incredible twist at the end. So I highly recommend it. So I kind of dreamed that the Pope died last night. So
it might be happening.
Might certainly happen in this coming week because he's not doing very well.
No.
But the other thing that I just wanted to quickly ask Alison, and now I forgot it. So I'll leave it up to you. Not Alison, I mean Heather. I was going to ask another question about loose skin, but I'll just leave the next question up to you.
Okay.
Alison.
If you think of it, let us know. I also have some loose skin, and I haven't seen too much of an improvement with it, but my journey is overlapping with perimenopause and menopause. So I noticed with my hormone replacement therapy that it's helping a little bit with skin tone. But, I think that we'll have to see how autophagy serves all of us in the next few years and hope that it...
I remember the question. So I recently listened to one of the recent podcasts from Jen Stevens, and one of the questions was about your goal weight, and she was talking about the weight you were in high school. So Heather, do you are you anywhere near the weight you were in high school? And if you aren't or are, but do you have a specific goal weight? Because my goal weight has changed over the years. Like I always thought, oh, I have to get into Wonderland. But now, no, I don't need to.
Yeah. So my high school weight, my best year in high school, I was probably around 170 pounds. I made my goal weight 175. I don't know exactly why. It's just a number I picked. Um, I used to do, I started out when I first did it, I was going to do it by pant size. And I was like, you know what? When I'm a size 14, I'll be good. I can live with a 14. But now I've made it to that size. And I'm like, yes, I'm glad I didn't go by the size. But 175 is my goal weight. I've not made it there yet, but I'm going to. But that's my weight goal. And I don't know why. Just it's just the number I picked.
Yeah, I picked 220. I'm not there. I'm stuck on 260. And I've been stuck there, but stuck is good. As long as I'm not gaining like more than between 0 and 5 pounds around the 260. For me, the maintenance of intermittent fasting is equally as important as, or even more important than weight loss, because as long as I'm not gaining, like here and there, I would have chocolate, a donut, whatever. Easter is coming, Easter eggs. And I know that I have a binge eating disorder. So as long as I'm not gaining weight and I'm sticking around the 260, that's fantastic. But ultimately, I'd like to get around the 220. And I think that I was around 220 in high school as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I feel
Go ahead, Heather.
I said I'm only 5'2" too, so my weight should, I mean, by doctor's thing, I think my weight should only be like 130 pounds, but I don't foresee myself being that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, you'll have to see where you settle in. I think that kind of thinking about it as a goal body, like what body are you comfortable in and can you live your life the way you want to? Like I know Wendy has some travel goals, so she wants like a goal body that she can travel in. Me too. I want to like age well and be able to just stay fit enough to, be active on a daily basis and just kind of keep health and longevity in mind. And then if you're not sure what your goal weight should be, the SMART BMI calculator is always good. I like to mention that every now and again, because the regular BMI calculator is very flawed, and the SMART BMI calculator, you could just Google it, and it's just nice, and it's forgiving, and it gives you like a good range, and it takes your age into consideration. So it's nice to look at that from time to time. But you've said a couple other things in our Facebook group that I wanted to talk about. It's just like really good advice and things that we should all reflect on. The first one was you were saying that if you get really, really hungry and you start to feel sick, and probably that is part of your blood sugar going low, you break your fast and you don't feel bad about it. And you know that you're fasting every night and it is okay to open your window earlier. Do you want to say anything else about that? It's so important.
Yeah, it is. And because I think like you said, and I've heard Wendy say it too, we beat ourselves up every time we mess up on a diet. We're like, oh man, we did it again. And the thing is with this, you didn't mess up. You just opened your window earlier, and tomorrow you can do longer or you can do the same. You're still fasting every night, so you didn't break your plan.
Exactly. And consistency is important, but if you're not feeling well, it is okay to have that flexibility. The other thing you said was that you're not counting calories anymore, and you found that it wasn't necessary, and it just feels like diet freedom for you. So that's fantastic. And you also mentioned that you're not weighing yourself, or you didn't weigh yourself for that first month that you restarted. That was at the beginning of this year, right? And how did that go? Did it feel like really difficult to get rid of the scale?
I'm like I need to weigh myself every day, or I feel like I'm going to fail. Like, I feel like if I don't see that number, I'm going to do worse. I'm trying to get myself away from it. I did decide to do another 30 days without weighing.
Awesome.
And I might go back to it eventually, but I'm trying to not be so fixated on the scale and my weight. I want to be fixated on my intermittent fasting and following the program and doing right there. And my first weigh-in was good. I was down 5.5 pounds. So my first weigh-in was good. So we'll see what this one, I've had a little more bumps in the road this month, but for the most part, I feel good. I feel like my clothes are getting looser, and I don't feel like I've ruined it with the shorter fasts that I've had on a few days throughout this month.
Right. That's fantastic. And to see that jump, that 5.5 pounds in the 1 month, must be super motivating. And we also just should keep in mind that with the fasting, we're having more human growth hormone. So we're hopefully retaining muscle mass or maybe even building some muscle. And again, working towards that goal body and not being so driven by the scale is important. I'm the same way though. I do really like to jump on the scale. I should probably move it from the bathroom so I don't feel as compelled to go on it every morning. But
that's what I had to do. I had to put it away, out of sight, out of mind.
The other thing that you shared in the group was about weekends not being special. And you said that you learned it in my book. And that when you started fasting every single weekend, you, made it a habit and you saw that it was beneficial for your fasting schedule and the health goals that you were looking for. So are you still able to do that and fast?
I am. I do pretty good on my fasting. I do usually make my fasting windows on the weekends 16 hours because it's a little more easier where I can kind of do, pancakes with my boys or something like that. But yeah, I remember reading that in your book, and I remember thinking like, you know what? She's right. There is nothing special about the weekends. And once I did it, because what was happening was I think I was overeating on my weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that I lost during the week, I would wake up Monday morning and it would be like the same thing or higher in weight. Well, granted, that could have been sodium or things like that. And I would still get to the end of the week and I would still show a weight loss every week. But then I was like, well, if I could do good on the weekends, I don't have that little fluctuant during the weekend, it probably could be more weight. And once I figured that out, it was so much better. And really with the eating window till 8 o'clock, even on the weekends, it's pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still plenty of hours to eat a good amount of food. And it's so funny because, Jen talks about Saturday is not a special occasion. And I found that I had great results when I was more consistent on the weekend and at least kept, a little bit of an eating window, or instead of eating for 10 hours, maybe just keeping it like that 6 to 8. But you can eat a lot in 8 hours, and, the Mondays are always difficult, and, you're just really making it harder for yourself. So I do like to be consistent as possible too. When Graham Curry interviewed me for his podcast, the Fasting Highway podcast, he has kind of a different spin on it, where he says that Saturdays are a special occasion for him because it's the day where he doesn't have to go to work and he can have an additional meal with his wife. And he does feel like it's a special occasion every Saturday, even though it's happening every week. But he is so committed to his lifestyle that he knows that if he goes too far off course, he won't feel as well. So he does it now just because, he wants to. So he mentally can have the best of both worlds. Think of it like a celebration, but also stay on track. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, consistency does pay off for sure. And you've also talked about getting fuller faster and getting some hiccups and ups and downs. I have ups and downs all the time in the last 6 months. I don't know. Something triggers like a celebration. Oh, I have to have this or that. Or I'm feeling down and depressed and lonely. Oh, I have to have that to help with this or that. But the thing is that you wake up the next day and you basically fast until 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you know that you've gotten back on track more or less. So can you tell the listeners a little bit more about hiccups? Like when you talk about a hiccup, for me, like going off track is like, okay, I'm going to have this entire bag of popcorn, or I'm going to have an entire bag of chips, or I'm going to have a giant bar of chocolate, or I'm going to go have, I don't know, some big, large hamburger, French fry meal or something.
So with the hiccups, I actually did not experience it prior when I did fasting over the summer. This is new for this January when I started. And I never experienced the hiccups before neither. Like everybody in the bariatric world always says, oh, I've gotten hiccups or they sneeze or something like that, little quirky things that I've never experienced. So hiccups are new for me, and it's not like a continuous hiccups. It's like all of a sudden I just get air in my stomach and I'll have like 2 or 3 hiccups. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that means I'm full.
So Wendy's talking about like things that make you go off track, and Heather's talking about like actual hiccups.
Yeah, not actual hiccups, but I'm like not actual hiccups. No, I'm talking about going off track, or I'm going to party tonight and have an entire bag of. I still haven't bought any because I know they're super high in calories and fat. Are red Twizzlers. Mm-hmm. So the Twizzlers, because I saw. What did I saw the other day? I was watching some show on TV and they were eating Twizzlers. I thought, oh man, I wish I could have some Twizzlers again, But the thing is, I can't just have one.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is probably coffee. Like a lot of times I will go in this thing where I don't want to drink black coffee all of a sudden. And like 2 days in a row, I'll open my window at like 9 a.m. because I feel like I need that coffee. That seems to be where I mess up the most with my fasting.
Yeah, I had that a lot as well in the first couple of years. It took a really long time, and I still don't love the black coffee. When I'm in a routine and it's a work day, I just make it and go, and I don't have a choice. But when I'm hanging out at home, if it's a weekend or a day off, or I am off in the summers, that temptation is constantly calling me. And I know that I don't feel well. I can tell that it's, I don't put a lot of sugar in, but I can tell that, I just feel better with just the black coffee, but I'm still working on it. I think we're all a work in progress. And if you can just kind of get yourself in the habit of getting up and making it, or saying, let me just have this one cup. If I really want the other, then I can. Usually, the caffeine boost will change your mind a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like the black coffee, actually, when I do black coffee, I feel like it does something. I don't know if it triggers my mind or what, but I feel like I have an easier fast that day if I start with black coffee versus nothing. Because some days I'm like, oh, I don't want this crap today. I'm going to just do nothing.
Well, you mentioned that you have like a tendency to have ADHD or that kind of brain, and that caffeine can definitely focus you in. And then I also think that it kind of sets you up. Just, I don't know, it does make you more focused in a way. And, it gives you that little energy boost. And I could see how why you would feel that way. Now, you talked about how you don't count calories. How do you hydrate when you're in your fasting window?
So I have a big Stanley cup, and my goal is to drink 2 of those a day. I usually get 1 a day in.
Okay. Just plain water?
Just plain water. That's all I do. Just plain water. I don't drink anything really. Every once in a while I have a soda, iced tea every once in a while, from the South, we like our sweet tea. Mm-hmm. So I try not to do too much of that, because the sugar, but, mostly just water. I have, I don't know if it's bariatric or what, but it's like, if I don't hydrate, I pay for it. Mm-hmm. It makes my stomach very sick.
Okay. So you get nauseous if you're not well hydrated, or?
No, it's more like I can't go to the bathroom. Like, it's horrible. Like, it's just unbearable pain. And I feel like it takes a day or 2 to get over it. So I really try to drink at least 1 to 2 of my Stanley cups.
Okay, great.
I wanted to ask another question that I just thought about, Heather. When you were first discovering intermittent fasting, did you ever look into things like Wegovy or Manjura? Oh, the GPL-1 drugs.
I didn't. I never really looked into it, but I did call my bariatric doctor back because his office is about 30 minutes from where I live now. And actually those were the recommendations he had for me.
Yeah.
And I heard so many horror stories of people taking them with side effects, and they lost a lot of weight real fast, but then they gained more weight back. It just wasn't something I was ready to do or willing to do at the moment.
Yeah, because the TV is full of advertisements for all of these GPL-1 drugs. And of course, there's nothing about intermittent fasting, as we know. And it's still within the bariatric world that Alison and I are discovering this more and more, that it seems to be a big taboo to even consider intermittent fasting. And it's just something that we're trying to break through this wall of trying to get people to just try it. So what would you tell someone just starting on this intermittent fasting journey?
I would tell them that if they can make it through the first few weeks, they'll be so glad that they tried it. I think that the benefits of it, health and weight wise, it's totally worth it. And you don't have anything to lose. It costs no money to do it. I mean, you have nothing to lose. You're just gonna lose a couple meals, I guess, if you're giving up breakfast every day. That's it. Other than that, really it's the easiest thing to do, and anybody can do it, no matter what your financial life looks like or where you live or how you live, and it doesn't matter.
Well, I think that this has been really a very inspiring conversation. I'm really glad you joined us today, Heather, because your insights, your personal experiences with intermittent fasting after weight loss surgery and not going back to the bariatric doctors and, them putting you on some strange diet or giving you some weird drug I mean, lately I've been calling intermittent fasting the fountain of youth. Like I said, the three of us have become very, very much more pretty over the last period, and we don't look like these drawn out bariatric patients that after they've lost a whole bunch of weight, they really look. Your skin is like, I think my skin has gotten prettier somehow. I don't know how. But anyway, it's just been a great a discussion today. Your honesty and dedication is making this a sustainable lifestyle is truly motivating.
Yeah, I agree. And I just love how you're, again, sharing in the group and all of the wisdom that you're gaining on your journey. You're sharing with us at the Regain Remedy on Facebook. And it's just great to hear your perspective and your mindset shifts and how the consistency of it is, making such an impact on your success. And I really appreciate you sharing with others.
Yeah, I want everyone to know too, though, because I feel like everything is being forced into weight loss surgery, the shots, things like that. Like I know I've told you, Alison, before, my 15-year-old who's struggling with his weight, his pediatrician, the first thing she's recommended to me was weight loss surgery. And like, I'm just flabbergasted. Like, he's 15. Like, I don't want this to be a conversation we have to have.
This just blows my mind, and I get so angry about it because I just cannot for the life of me. I mean, it has to be about money, right? Because for the life of me, I can't understand why surgery and weight loss medications come before a simple metabolic rest. And I know they're still not recommending intermittent fasting for children, but do children eat throughout the night when they're sleeping?
They don't. And not only that, but these can't be their first result for children. I mean, he's 15. He still has 4 to 5 more years where he's going to grow taller and things are going to change. Like, he may, I know my high school years, 9th grade versus 12th grade, I was way smaller in 12th grade than 9th grade. Somewhere I hit a little growth spurt or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he sees me doing the fasting, and he calls me up and he'll tell me, "Oh, Mom, I fasted for like 12 hours today." And I'm like, "That's good."
Alison, you recently shared that too, right? With your son.
I shared it with my son and he asks me about it. And it's a little bit harder, I think, sometimes for them to either be consistent, depending on their social life. But, it's so good to know now that it's not dangerous to skip breakfast. Like that was really drilled into us for my entire life. Like, you cannot miss breakfast because you won't be as smart. You won't have good test grades. You'll feel bad. Your blood sugar will drop. And just knowing that, it's okay to do that. And my son also knows now that if he skips breakfast and he doesn't eat until lunch, it is actually really beneficial for him. And he does say all the time, when I get into a regular routine or this or that, I'm going to do this. And he lives with his dad, and sometimes they have a late dinner. And I said, that's fine, Reed. If you want to, open at noon and eat until 8 or 9 p.m., that's still going to be so beneficial for you.
Yeah. And that's how I do it with mine. With Charlie, it's like I tell him, like, I tell him try not to go past noon. That's when his lunch is at school. And I go, at least eat your lunch at school, and then you can have a snack when you get home and stuff. But he's I don't know how consistent he is with it, since he does live with his dad as well. But it's definitely like, just, at least there's a mindset started there.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Like planting a seed, right?
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Well, to all our listeners, we hope that this episode has given you some new tools and encouragement to continue or start or with your own intermittent fasting journey. And if you're looking for more guidance, don't forget to check out Alison's book, The Regain Remedy, and join the amazing Regain Remedy Facebook community page for more support.
And remember, it's not about perfection, just progress with your journey, just always looking to do better and be healthier. And you do have the power to take control of your health in a way that works for you. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, or share it with someone who might need to hear the message.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Heather, and enjoy the weather down south. Oh my God.
You're so lucky.
It's actually a little cool today. It's supposed to get in the 50s tonight.
How that is. That's when we go outside with shorts and t-shirts. But anyway, thanks again to our listeners for tuning in. And until next time, keep fasting, stay consistent, and keep finding your way to health and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to the podcast. I too also have a book. You can look it up on Amazon. But it's just wonderful to have spoken to you today, Heather, because we don't want to be thinking diet brain 24/7. We want to get on with our life. I have been so busy, and we all have been so busy with dieting. I have been dieting for over 50 years, and I'm sick and tired of it. So with the intermittent fasting, you can turn that off and just go about your life, because it's important now, especially in today's climate that is really, really challenging for all of us. We don't need the extra stress of worrying about our weight. We have so much on our plate right now because of what's happening in the world. So we'll just stay positive, and that intermittent fasting helps us stay positive. Right, girls?
Completely agree.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.